First up, we're joined by Sue Fleece. She is a best-selling, award-winning author of more than 50 children's books, including Sadie Sprocket Builds a Rocket, How to Trap a Leprechaun, Mary Had a Little Lab, and the Kid Scientist series. So Sue, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. You have so many amazing books back there. I want to read them all.
Thank you. Yeah, well, fortunately, they're picture books, so they wouldn't take you that long.
Well, I would love to read them. But today we're here to talk about your series, Kid Scientist. This series is so awesome. What inspired you to write these cool stories and include these sort of scientific adventures?
So it was sort of a combination and a group effort with my publisher. I've done a lot of STEM titles with Albert Whitman, mostly fractured fairy tales, actually, and a couple of nonfiction books that are coming out. And they asked me, would I be interested in writing a series that focused on kids as scientists? So we brainstormed sort of how it would all take shape. And what it is really giving kids a peek into a day in the life of in various different sciences. So I'm not a scientist, but now I feel like I'm kind of a mini expert on all of these different sciences. So there's actually 4 books in the series right now, and there's more coming. The first 2 came out in April, Marine Biologists on a Dive and Archaeologists on a Dig. And go into archaeology and marine biology, clearly. And then there's new ones that come out October 27th. So you guys are getting actually the first peek into these. This one is about entomologists. It's insect experts in the rainforest. They go to Costa Rica and discover a new insect. And the one we're going to be talking about today is Kid Scientist Astronauts on the Space Station. And they are the kids go to the International Space Station and spend about 6 months and do all sorts of experiments in space, which of course the space station is like a mini, or not a mini, but a lab up in space. So they have an adventure up there, and we can talk a little bit more about that too. But I'm super excited to get to share those with you.
I'm excited too. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm a scientist after reading the books. Do you mind reading a bit from your newest book, Kid Scientists, Astronauts in Space?
I would love to. So this is the story of Jose, Cassie, and Gia, and they go to the International Space Station to do experiments, as I mentioned. And Cassie and Gia are going to be more studying and doing experiments on body and how their bodies are changing over time in space. And Jose is going to try to grow lettuce in space. So I'm just going to read a couple of pages for you here because it's a little bit of a longer picture book. They head to the exercise module and check out the equipment. Each week, Cassie and Gia will observe how living in space affects the human body. We'll track our height, weight, and nutrition, says Cassie, and monitor our hearts. Weightlessness can affect the heart's beating rhythm over time, so Cassie and Gia will be watching for any unusual patterns. Without gravity compressing our spines, says Cassie, our bodies might stretch a bit too. So we may get taller, asks Jose. Cassie nods. But our muscle size may decrease. In space, there's little resistance to help keep muscles in shape. We'll need to exercise regularly to stay healthy. And they go and they check out all of the equipment, the exercise equipment in the space station. And then here is Jose with his veggie lab. Cassie and Gia help Jose set up his plant growing station. How long do you think it will take to grow? Asks Gia. My hypothesis, or guess based on evidence, is that it will take 2 months from seed to plant. Aeroponic plants often grow faster because they absorb more nutrients and the roots get more oxygen. So in this case, they grow some lettuce, and then they do encounter some space debris, and they get to go on a spacewalk. So here's just some pictures of Gia and Jose going on a spacewalk to fix a solar panel that gets damaged. And I just love this spread because you can really see them out in space. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Out in space, and they have the Earth here, and then the moon, and they're enjoying space. And actually, I woke up this morning to a lot of space news. Our National Air and Space Museum in DC, I'm located near DC, reopened today after adding all these galleries and cool exhibits. And the 4 astronauts that were on the space station are set to splashed down today from the SpaceX capsule. So that was kind of fun. I woke up and my whole day is space related.
So, Sue, I'm curious, if you could go to outer space, would you?
Hmm. If I had the money to do it, yes, I think I would. It's funny. I have another book called S.T.E.A.M Sprocket Builds a Rocket, and she goes to Mars. And so I did a lot of research on Mars. And there's a scientist that I sort of did a lot of research on who's a rocket scientist who thought she wanted to be the first one to Mars, just like Sadie. But then she had a kid and realized how long she would have to be gone and all this stuff. So I do worry about the risks of being gone and being in a completely foreign environment. But I think it would be life changing.
Well, let's do it. Let's make it happen somehow. So your kids scientists have explored the oceans, the rainforest, they've gone to space, they've been on archaeological dig. Where do you think they're going to travel to next? What's the next adventure?
Well, I do know because I've written in it. It's coming out next year. They are going to Iceland and they are going to a volcano. So they are volcano experts on the edge. Is what it was what it will be called, and they're going to this volcano that it's actually a dormant volcano. And their hypothesis is that it is extinct. So it's not only dormant, but it won't ever erupt again. And I won't give the Icelandic name because I cannot pronounce it, but they call it the Queen of the Mountains, I believe. So they go and visit this and hike up to the top and do experiments, and it's very cool. They use drones, and it'll be fun.
I'll meet you there. Let's join them. That
I
sounds
know.
fabulous.
Actually, we're trying to plan a senior trip for my son, and I thought, let's go to Iceland. I need to go anyway for research.
Sue, I am in. One last question too,
Mhm.
just very quickly. Have you always been a reader? What developed your love of reading?
Well, I would have to credit libraries and my parents. My parents are avid readers. Ever since I was little, I can remember being in the room, watching them each have a book in hand. And my mom used to take my sister and I to the library, and we would check out big stacks of books. And then I can remember sitting on the couch, and my dad would read them to us. So I think I've just always been surrounded by books, which also kind of made me a writer as well.
Mhm.
And I do remember my dad one time very distinctly reading a Stephen King novel. And I was watching him read it just in the chair, and he slams it shut. And I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "It just got so scary. I couldn't read it anymore." And it kind of was this click that happened, thinking, wow, there's a book that can take you to a place even super scary or super fun or on an adventure where you're sitting in a room, but you're really someplace else. And I think that has always drawn me into trying to create worlds for kids as well.
Well, you're doing an amazing, amazing job. I will
Oh,
say to everyone listening today, make sure you have a library card. It is a powerful thing. And also make sure you ask your parents to read you books because it's a wonderful experience for the whole family. I love it. Sue, just very quickly, we only have a couple of seconds left. Of
sure.
all the books back on that shelf back there, what's the one you would recommend that
Oh my,
everyone should read?
oh my goodness. Of mine?
No, of all of those back there behind
Oh,
you.
oh my goodness. Oh, one of my, I was gonna say, I don't want to be talking about my own books anymore. One of my favorite books is Library Lion by Michelle Knudsen, and I just adore it, and I still will take it out as an example of what I could aspire to write. And also Watercress by Andrea Wang. Um, and yeah, so those two I would recommend right now. Kind of an older one and a new one.
Those are fabulous, fabulous recommendations. Thank you.
You are so
Sue,
welcome.
thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.